just fabulous. I said earlier today, and I'll say it again, I call her a world adventurer because I've never really asked her if she's been to or how many countries she's been to. However, the way she describes the products and how long that she's been in the travel industry with me, I know that you're going to really enjoy the adventures that she'll describe to you. So she's my world adventurer, and she's wonderful at this. Kathy, why don't you just take it away from here?
Oh, well, thank you so much, Fred. And you know, I see this little box coming back up on screen. Do you?
I don't see it yet.
Oh, good. Well, anyways, let's hope we don't. But I just wanted to say it hopefully won't, you know, bother everybody when I'm talking. But I just do want to say thank you so much for coming on today, and especially tonight. I know it's kind of hard an hour between dinner and, you know, maybe having to eat a little bit earlier. But I'm really excited to talk about Oceania right now because as a veteran of the industry, almost 45 years now, I have to say that, you know, I look back in all the things that we've gone through as a travel industry. This is the world's second largest industry. The actual world couldn't, you know, they couldn't survive without the travel business. So it is such a humongous business. And to see this huge pendulum of pent up kind of fever, this pendulum of pent up demand to come back to travel is just so exciting. And of course, as you know, since last March, all the ships around the world had to park their ships. And so what I kind of find interesting, you know, when I look at it, I think, gee, 30 million people sailed in 2019. If you can believe that, everybody, it's quite a huge number. If you think of all the ships, 30 million people sailed in 2019. And out of that, unfortunately, 65 people passed away from COVID. 2,800 people got it, but 65 people passed away from it. When you look at those numbers, it's a staggering, you know, assurance of how safe the cruise industry is. And part of that is because we've been reporting to the CDC our viruses for over 50 years, cruise lines. So, you know, it's kind of easy to target. We've had a number of people on a certain amount of space in a certain amount of time. And so it's kind of easy to target. But the interesting side of it is that it's an incredibly safe industry. And the things that we're doing now, and I'm going to tell you about those near the end, are the things that are really, really making a huge difference to when ships will be put in the water again. So we're really excited because from last March to right now, and as we just talked about earlier, here we are at a year's anniversary, you know, of the, you know, pandemic, is that the world's coming out of it. And we're seeing our news in BC, which is so great about the vaccines. And while it might be a little bit messed up, we are getting there, and we're all going to get there by, you know, this summer. So hopefully that'll be just great. But I wanted to talk to you tonight because last fall we did something based really on Europe and the Mediterranean and, you know, the North Cape and things like that. Today, we just this last week, in between this period, have launched a 2023 around the world cruise for 180 days. We've launched our new Tropics and Exotics of 2023. And tonight I want to show you some of those itineraries because they're so incredible. And I'm so excited to see a lot of your faces here on screen because it's been so wonderful. I wish I could just reach out and hug you guys because I've seen so many of you at our Everything Wine presentations. But I really hope that you get a feel for what we're doing at Oceania. And things are changing rapidly all the time. So it's really exciting. So just to introduce you, if for those of you who have never sailed on Oceania, I just want to talk to you just a little bit about small ship luxury. I have been with Oceania for 12 years. I've been in the industry for 45 with the cruise lines. But I spent 18 years before Oceania at Crystal Cruises. So here we were at the very top of the luxury market, and there were all these beautiful big premium lines too, like Princess and Celebrity Hull in America, which do such an amazing job with larger numbers. And Oceania 17 years ago just slid right in the middle between these premium lines and the beautiful luxury lines. And I think that they created this new niche called the upper premium market. What it meant was they were going to do things that were a little bit different than the premium lines and not be quite as inclusive as the 6-star lines. But what that gave everybody was a chance to really decipher what was important to the people that traveled on Oceania. So we did things that were a little bit different. First of all, we had these 3 pillars that we said, we're never going to change. These are going to be the hearthstone of our company. They're going to be the raw core of who we are. And so we started out with small ships. And I remember I've always loved small ships. No matter when I first got in the industry, even at Princess Cruises so many years ago with the Love Boat, we had the Little Sun Princess and the Pacific Princess, and they were small. They were 500 guests. And these little ships that Oceania has are 684 guests. It's actually amazing. And I think that they're 30,000 tons. So in 2019, when we had the regatta coming up to Alaska, I remember sitting in port one day and I thought, we were at Ogden Point in Victoria, and we were just coming to Victoria for the day, a very long day till 11 o'clock p.m. And so here was our little ship, the regatta, and right beside it was one of the Royal Caribbean ships. On the other side was a giant princess ship. And I thought, wow, I love all of these cruise lines. They're so amazing. We're all so different from each other. But 3 of my little ships right now could fit on either side of these cruise lines. And it was pretty cool. So with small ships came this incredible novelty of being able to get into ports that the big ships couldn't get into. So Oceania made it one of their real drivers to say, we're going to do itineraries that no one else can do. Number one, we're going to be port intensive. We're going to be pretty adventurous, and we're going to have some really unique, beautiful little boutique ports. So we called them our curated travel experiences. And cruising no longer is about just being on a ship and having lovely food and meeting lots of new people and, going to parties and dancing and all that kind of stuff. It's changed so much, as we all know. But one of the things that is really becoming prevalent now with cruisers and travelers is the overland experiences, the shore excursions that we offer. And I'm going to talk to you about what's changing and those kind of things. But the travel experiences are what I loved about Oceania. I always have believed you can't really experience Oceania in less than 10 or 12 days. So I'm going to talk to you about some of those cruises. But in addition to that, what is so special about Oceania, everybody, is that we specialize in kind of linking our cruises back to back. So you can take these beautiful back-to-back cruises and make them 30 days and 60 days and 80 days and 180 days. And interestingly enough, when I look at the trends that are happening right now, what I'm seeing is that 40% of all of our business that's coming in since this last year to now is brand new to Oceania Cruises. It's not brand new to cruising, it's brand new to Oceania from other cruise lines. So it means that guests that have been on big ships are kind of all of a sudden going, maybe give me something a little bit smaller. Guests on luxury lines are going, I don't need everything included. I just want the stuff that's really important to be included. So I'm going to look at Oceania. So the number one reason anyone ever comes to Oceania is because of the destinations we go to. The second reason they come is because of the size of the ship. And the third reason they come is the food. Now, it's very interesting. It's never going to be a reason you're ever going to buy a cruise. But I have to tell you, from the very onset of Oceania Cruises, we said we're going to be the cruise line for foodies. And that's what we're going to do. And so it's not about frog's legs and beautiful creams and mascarpone cheese and things like that, even though you can have that and fresh lobster in any restaurant any time of the day. But the fact is, it's all about the fact of choices you have. And we did things differently in the fact that we said, we're going to be different from the premium lines. We're going to be different from luxury lines. We're going to have all the things that are included that are really important, like I mentioned at the beginning. Things like shuttles in between cities. So when we come into a place like Venice, we offer a complimentary shuttle in and out of St. Mark's Square. When we come into St. Petersburg, we land right in front of the Hermitage and we stay there for 3 days. When we come into a place like Dubrovnik, we're constantly having shuttles, or Taormina in Italy, and we have shuttles in and out of those cities. So those were one of the things we changed. We said we're going to stop for 2 seatings at dining. We were the first cruise line that said we're going to have open dining, and it's going to be fantastic. Between 6 and 10, we have 4 restaurants on our 4 little small ships, and then we have 6 restaurants on the other 2. And we're on next week, we're announcing the name and the building information about our new ship in the Allura class. It's going to be the same size as Marina and Riviera, and she's set sail in 2023. So she's midway being built. in Fincantieri yards in Italy, and they're full speed ahead. So it's kind of exciting. And then the other thing we said is we're not going to have kids programs. We're not going to charge for, dining on any of our ships. We're not going to charge for lattes or coffees or, bistro things. We're just not going to charge for any of that. We're not going to charge for specialty restaurants. We're going to have it so people have that right to just come on the ship and feel like they're in someone's home. We even have fireplaces on our ship, and they're so incredibly beautiful. For those of you who've sailed on us, you'll know what I talk about. They're a very, very intimate ship. So one of the things about coming to a smaller ship that I've loved, and especially being in my mid 60s, I kind of go, there's something about small that makes me feel like I'm actually a very looked after guest. Now, is that different from the big ships? Maybe a tiny bit, in the fact that it's a little bit more impersonal. It doesn't mean that they want to be more impersonal, but there's 5,000 guests versus 680 guests, or 1,200 guests, as you see on this next, ship with the Marina and Riviera. But any kind of cruise experience you take is absolutely fantastic. I think what I love about small, it's the attention to detail. It's when I walk onto the ship, I go to the front desk the second day and they go, "Hi, Kathy," or I will be in a bar and they'll know that I like my gin martini, or I'll go to the bistro and they go, "Should I get you another latte?" or something like that. That's the kind of stuff that happens. So it's not about the stuffiness or formality or the expense that makes a luxury line luxury. It's all about the beautiful casual feeling. We were one of the first cruise lines to say we're going to get away with formal wear. We're going to just have a beautiful casual attire on board the ship. So you don't see, kind of wife beater t-shirts and ripped up jeans, but you see a beautiful casually dressed crowd. Now, there are guests of ours who like to dress up and they can do that, but very rarely. My husband was in hotels forever and ever and ever when I first met him. And when we first took him on Oceania, he said, "I'm going to take a dinner jacket." And I go, "You won't need it." And he goes, "But I can't live without it. I have to know that I have it just in case." And a tie. Well, there are no ties and jackets. You can have that, and it's beautiful. If you want that, that's perfect. There's no long gowns and things like that. So it's a really beautiful, casual, designed cruise line. And part of the reason is because we're so port intensive, because we have such a unique cruise line itself, that we don't want to have people be able to feel like they have to get dressed up and go to different, formal evenings or whatever. When we do a welcome party on our ship, a welcome captain's party, everybody, it's in every bar. So you don't have to come to one room because there's no shaking hands anymore. But the fact is it's on every bar, and the bar's open for everybody. So they're small and intimate ships, and they're absolutely stunning. And as I say, when I look at these beautiful little ships, I think, gee, 680 guests on board the Regatta and the Regatta class ships. And these are the ships that come into the Holy Land, and they go into the Alaskan ports, and they come in through Saint-Tropez in France and parts of the Med, and they come up through the Baltic so they can get through the Kiel Canal. Things like that we use our small ships for. And then we have the Marina and Riviera, which are so incredible. Each one of the 6 ships has been refurbished to feel like, we call it our re-inspiration. So we took our ships down almost to the studs and inspired every one of the 4 small ships. The Nautica, for those of you who are curious, is the only ship that hasn't been done. And in June, before we even put her in the water, she will have been re-inspired as well. So this is what the ship looks like, and they're gorgeous. They're 30,000 tons, meaning you can walk around it in half an hour and get to know your way around. The reason I came over from Crystal, which I still love, and I still talk to my Crystal family all the time, is because Oceania was building the Marina and Riviera. These were 60,000 ton ships, twice the size of our small ones. They were 6 open dining restaurants, not 4. They were incredibly beautiful with 1,200 guests, and that's still considered extremely small. So when I look at it and I think about the accommodations, everything was a detailed, kind of item, right down to binoculars, umbrellas, beautiful blankets in your stateroom, your refrigerator full of stocked, soft drinks and everything like that. 2 people looking after your room. When you pick up the phone for room service, someone's there like that, giving you what you need, and we don't charge for anything like that. So it's wonderful. 96% of all the staterooms on our Marina and Riviera are verandaed staterooms, and so about, I think, 80% on our small ships. And when we announce the Allura class next week, then you'll see a whole bunch of new design coming on, which is so great and still very small. But I look at the service on board our ship, and it's one thing that we can have beautiful hardware, but this team that works on board all of our ships, and right now we've got a ship moving across the world to pick up staff to get ready to put our ships in the water. So things are really changing. But the fact is, the service on board is absolutely unparalleled to anybody. It's so beautiful. And I think we have families, we have couples that live on board the ship that work with us, and they're just always there willing to, make your vacation the most important thing that you have that full year. Then I look at our food and I kind of go, we've got our destinations, which I'm going to tell you about. We've got these beautiful small ships. So what about our food? What is it about our food that makes it amazing? Well, I can only say that I look at these two gentlemen on the screen, one Jacques Pepin on the right-hand side, and on your left is Frank Geringer. And Jacques has always been an amazing chef, a French chef. He was Charles de Gaulle's head chef for many years, and 3 other French heads of state. Jacques believes in sharing fresh food. He believes in all sorts of things. So everything on the ship is made from scratch. It's also made what we call a la minute. Part of the reason we're cruise line for foodies is because when you order something, everybody, it comes to you. It's made for you at the moment you order it. It's not all pre-made. So we make our own breads, our own pastas, our own ice creams, our own, kind of everything you can imagine is on that ship. We make, and we bring in every city we try and go to. We have regional cuisine, the area of South America or Africa or whatever. We do some pretty great dishes. So we have all these different restaurants. We don't charge you to dine in any of them. And we have even Jacques' own bistro, which is a French bistro on our Marina and Riviera. And in the main dining room of our small ships, we bring Jacques' Bistro on every day through lunch hours. Frank Geringer, on the other hand, is another French chef of ours, but he was so amazing. He said, not only are we going to have this incredibly fresh food, the choices you have, you can have butter and lobster, as I mentioned, but everything on that ship is so fresh and it's so incredible that it's all made just for your own taste. But what I love about Frank is that he said a couple of years ago, we're going to actually have a vegan-based menu. Now, we have always, as a cruise line, had vegetarian and special dietary need menus, whatever you need, but we never had plant-based. We were the first cruise line that said, we're going to go into a completely plant-based cuisine as an option for our guests. So right now we have over 250 plant-based items. Now, Frank himself went from this beautiful French chef of cooking butter and meats and everything to an absolute vegan himself. And so he experiments all the time with some of these great menus. We change our menus on our ship 600 times a year. That means twice a day, we're bringing on different things to introduce to our guests to make sure that it's fresh and it's kind of, and I mean fresh in the fact of choices versus fresh in food. It's always fresh in food. But the fact is, it's always there for you at the moment you want it, and anything you want is there for you. So I can see that people come in and they have these quinoa parfaits in the morning, and by night they're going into Toscana's or an Italian restaurant or into the Polo Grill to have a chop, and it's pretty cool. Or you can stay vegan all your life, or if you have a special dietary request, then as long as you can tell your Expedia person about it, and they will arrange it for you while you're on the ship, and you'll even get your own menu every day with it. So it's a very, very cool thing to be able to have this incredible cuisine being the cruise line for foodies. When it comes to dining, it's open dining. So between 6 and 10 o'clock, you can come in. We don't charge for you to eat in any of our dining rooms, and it's really beautifully, each place setting is gorgeous. We're foodies, so we brought on culinary centers. We built them with the Marina and the Riviera, and the Allura class will also have them. On the smaller ships, we don't have a culinary center, but we do cooking classes. But these are great ways to learn about some of our absolutely incredibly renowned, kind of menu items in our restaurant. We have a cookbook, we have all sorts of things. But when you come into this beautiful galley, there's only 24 of you. But with new regulations, we may only have have 15 or 12. I don't know yet. We're just waiting to hear. So, you know, and it's quite an experience. And so you are really for almost 2.5 hours making these 5 different dishes, and it's cool. So we've got all these things going on. We decided as a cruise line, we weren't going to have art auctions on board the ship, but rather we would have almost $7 million of art. You could take your audio box and we can look at each of these beautiful artists around the ship. And so we have original Picassos and Murray sculptures and Lalique staircases and all sorts of things that you can go look at. And actually it's about an hour's tour and it's amazing. You can just grab your audio box from the front desk and go. So, you know, little things that were different with Oceania are still incredibly different with us now. We still lead the way in the upper premium market. We're not all inclusive, but we're inclusive by choice. So I want to talk to you now, and I will end up with that at the end of some of the things that we include so you can see it in print. But the fact is that what I really want to do is take you around the world, because our Tropics and Exotics launch just came out in this last week and we just knocked the doors off. And it was our largest successful launch in the history of Oceania in 18 years. And in that success story, I just want to tell you that 7 to almost 18 years ago now, when Oceania did come out, in the first 9 months of their existence, they were rated in the top 10 cruise lines in the world. They did things that really mattered, that they said, if we get it a little bit different than anybody else, we will make an impact. And boy, did they ever. 20% of our guests are Canadian. We know what Bloody Caesars are. We know how to treat you with Canadian dollars, except we don't take Canadian dollars on board the ship, but we know what they are. But I was going to say, you know, there's so many things and so many trends coming. And what we found was with these 40% of new guests to ours, with the differences in how we have our guests come on board the ship, what we're noticing is that not only for this next year and the year after, at the end of this year going right through 23, people are going for 10 and 12 days. Now they're saying, I couldn't travel in 2020, I couldn't travel in 2021, and I'm going to blow my money and I'm going to sail in 2022 and 23, but I'm going to go for 16, 18, 30 days, 60 days. So almost 75% of all the sales in Western Canada right now that are coming in excess of 25 days of sailing. So it's a really cool thing to see. And that's the beauty behind Oceania, everybody, is the design of having these link-to-link sailings. So you can take short or long. With Oceania, we always include your air, we include your taxes, and we include your cruise. Now we include a whole bunch of other things, but the way we taught to in pricing is with those 3. You can take air out, you can take whole life choice out, which I'm going to tell you about, and then you can just have bare bones cruise. But with every single cruise that we quote, it's always with air out of Vancouver. And of course, with Canadian Gateways, it's Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal is complimentary, Victoria, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and I think Ottawa, if I'm not mistaken, has a 250 Canadian dollar add-on. And so it's kind of cool. When I look at this, and I think there are real crux of what we're talking about tonight is we're all explorers at heart. All of us love the travel. You know, we are all pent up. We're seeing this huge explosion of bookings coming in at us as an entire industry. People are really dying to travel again. That, you know, I say we go all over the world. We circumnavigate Australia. We come around Africa. We do 7 months in the Mediterranean. We go right around South America. We come up through the Panama Canal in very different ways that I'm going to show you. We do a tiny bit of Alaska. We come into Canada, New England. We cross over into Reykjavik in Iceland and into Greenland. We do some pretty cool things. And the very top of the world there, that little gray blob is the North Cape and Svalbard. And so we literally take sailings there, one-off sailings. One of the secrets of small ships is the fact that we actually have one-time sailings in a year. So when we circumnavigate Australia, it's one time. We don't do it 4 times in a year, one time, and it's always in November, December. So I'm going to show you some of the things. Now, our cruises range from 7 days to 180 days. As I mentioned before, the average cruise is around 10 to 12 days, but we have lots of longer voyages. But I really love the fact that we're in a place, we're in a region for a very peak and beautiful short amount of time. So no one gets bored with it, but we have all these different itineraries to show you. So I want to show you what we brought out last week because it was just some of the most beautiful itineraries. So I hope that you can just hang with me for the next 10 minutes while I just shoot you around these beautiful exotics and tropics. Now, these are itineraries that we actually launched for November of 2022 and go all the way through to almost June of 2023. We come out twice a year in different seasons. One is our Tropics and Exotics, which I'm going to show you. The other one was this last fall when we brought out Europe and the Americas. So I want to tell you about this exotic because this is kind of the fun stuff. This is where we see some of the really most obscure, wonderful destinations that we offer, and I love it. But we have 63 new routes this year. So we're always behind the scenes planning our itineraries. And yes, things can change if world events get in their way, but the fact is that we're constantly working with extended journeys, overland programs to match up our cruises. And look at all the overnight stays, 284 of them on this itinerary. So this is one of the things I think is really important about Oceania. When you come on our ships, we're trying not to just go in between 9 and 5. We come in early, we leave late. In some of the most beautiful places all over the world, we're there for 2 to 3 to 4 days, so it's kind of cool. But I want to start out with Tahiti, because Tahiti is one of our top ranked cruises. You kind of think of it with only small ships, but actually what's really cool about Tahiti is that it's built for any kind of ship to come in. And I love this destination. I've been to Tahiti 3 times over my life, and it's absolutely amazing. It's 2.5 million square kilometers of France sitting right under Honolulu. One of my girlfriends said, and I think if I've told you this before at our Everything Wine, she said, you know, Kath, when you go to Tahiti, just think of it as 2.5 cocktails past Honolulu. So, you know, it's an easy flight because it's 8 hours and it's almost a midnight flight. It's the only place other than one area in South America that we charter an aircraft to do it. So we take our guests to Los Angeles and then fly them over to on Tahiti Tahiti Nui over to Papeete. So it's a beautiful cruise. Now we have lots of different kinds of cruises there, but I'm going to show you what we do, because when you go into some of the overwater bungalows and you're just there and there's lots of little fish sailing around you and it's so safe, you could swim out to the reefs and nothing's going to attack you. It's wonderful. You can go climbing into these beautiful grasslands of bamboo forests, and you can go to Bali High, and you can go into Rangiroa in French Polynesia. But I love the fact that this is all of France. It's one of the most expensive regions in the world. If you ever go for coffee in Papeete, it's about $30 for a cup of coffee. But the fact is you've got this on the ship. So when I look at this itinerary, this is March 17th of 2023. So almost 2 years from now to the date, we're going to be doing this. And as I said, we fly you all the way to Papeete. It's included in your fare. So we take you on this 10-day journey, and we take you all the way into these beautiful little islands of Bora Bora and Raiatea and Moorea, where, you know, Bali High is, and into Papeete. And there's incredible World War II history in this whole region. So it's kind of cool. When you look at Bora Bora, I mean, it's 3 million years old compared to Moorea, which is only, they discovered whatever, I guess a million years old, because you see this beautiful flat kind of atolls in the water with little bits of mountains jetting out. These are all volcano beds that you come into. So they're really beautiful, clear skies. If you don't feel like flying into LA and back, you can fly to Papeete and cruise all the way back to Los Angeles. This is an 18-day cruise in April of 2023. This is a sailing that goes from Sydney to Papeete. So now we fly you all the way to Australia. The wonderful thing about this team of consultants that you have working with you is that they're engaged. They know how to sell Oceania. They know how to pull pre and post air programs out and custom air programs so you can stay in your cities either pre or post up to 3 weeks prior. It's $250 to change your air. So we take you down to Sydney. You should stay at least 4 or 5 days there, and if you can, a little bit earlier. And then you come up through into Brisbane, and then over to Samoa and Pago Pago and Bora Bora, and end up in Papeete. So that's an 18-day sailing. But one of the cool things also about going into Papeete is that we have sailings that take you to New Zealand and then to Australia. So this is Milford Sound. There's about 5 or 6 beautiful glacial areas in the world you might want to see. This is where Lord of the Rings was filmed. This is some of the most beautiful fjords you'll ever see. And this is on the South Island of New Zealand. So you would come down through Milford Sound. This is Sydney to Auckland. So again, we fly over to Sydney. You can stay there for a few days, and we come into Melbourne and Burnie in Tasmania, and then all the way over through Milford Sound, through these gorgeous fjords, into Christchurch, all the way up to Auckland. It is stunning. It's one of our greatest sellers. I'm just showing you highlights tonight of what people in Western Canada are really booking. And this one is one of my favorites too, because as I was mentioning, you can back to back to back sailings if you like to. So this is a combination of almost 3 cruises. So this is Sydney right through to Auckland, right back to, over to Samoa and into Papeete. Again, 33 days. And believe me when it goes like that, because we're port intensive, we've got lots going on in the ships, and there's so many great things. We have shore excursions and land programs built for every kind of interest you can imagine. We have a lot of interested guests on board the ship and lots of different varying interests of them. So some people want to go on a green tour and see wind turbines. Some people want to go on a wine tasting tour in Auckland. Some people want to go on just a shopping tour. Some people want to go on a history tour and do World War II. Some people just want to take a Jeep with a private guide and do that kind of stuff. Right now, we have over 3,000 tours you can choose from. And one of the greatest things that we're doing is we've always specialized in small shore kind of excursions and big excursions as well, but Oceania is changing. And this is one of the things I'm going to talk to you as we move forward, because all of us think right now about what it would be like to go on a shore excursion. Right at this moment, we would have to get off the ship in groups, but we're not going to probably be sailing until late summer, early fall of this year. And we don't know what that will look like yet. It all, countries, cities, areas, governments will have a big effect on how we operate the ships, how we operate our shore excursions. But in the interim, Oceania, keeping everybody safe as there is, has every scenario planned out. So for small, beautiful little tours for yourself. So I think that when you look at Auckland and you look at the wine country of where we're going now, this is another beautiful sailing that comes all the way up the west coast of Australia into places like Perth and Broome, which is so beautiful. It's the pearl capital of the world. And then all the way up into Bali and all the way into Kota Kinabalu and into the Philippines, into Manila, and all the way up to Tokyo. This is 43 days, and this is in 2022. There's also similar sailings in 2023. So Sydney's a great place to start and end your cruise. Lastly, in the South Pacific here, I have to tell you, this is a 35-day cruise that we do one-off once a year. It's one of my biggest sellers. And the reason I say this, because it's such an incredibly enchanting cruise. Every single port you go to is different. Australians are so much fun. The tours are fantastic. The weather's great. And it's such a fantastic part of the world to be able to cruise around and tuck into little ports here and there. So this is on our regatta. It's on our small cruise. It's during the holiday season, but it's December 3rd for 35 full days. Places like Melbourne, going into some of these great places that we can see, are all done on this beautiful small little ship. And I love it. This is a 675 guest ship. It's so small and intimate, but I remember many years ago being in Italy, and I was with Crystal Cruises then, just on a land vacation, and it was a terrible storm, and we were sitting in our hotel room on this balcony looking at the rain just pelting down, and this tiny little ship came into our harbor, and it was a cove. It wasn't even a harbor with a port or anything. It was outside of Naples in this tiny little cove, and she sat there during this thunderstorm, and it was the Nautica. It was the exact same sister ship to this, and I remember I'm thinking, that is the cutest little ship I've ever seen, and it's so incredible. So you come out into places like the Terrace Cafe. This is our grill. This is where we come out for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, for cocktails, whatever you want, but you have privacy, and someone takes your tray and they serve you what you want. They get you your latte, they get you freshly squeezed orange juice or whatever you need. And so you can watch the world go by, and it's just beautiful as you go through these gorgeous ports that you're sailing to. Then we kind of come up to a little bit of Asia. This is some of our new itineraries. This is March of 2022, where we're going from Hong Kong all the way to Tokyo and into China. But it's kind of cool because we also come into Cambodia, we come into Vietnam, we come into places like Halong Bay. Look at this, it's unbelievable. This is a tour that I did an actual overnight in when I was on the ship. And by the way, almost every cruise I've done with Oceania, even though I've been here 12 years, I've had to pay full fare for, even though I'm an employee, because they're the itineraries I want. Small ships, as Fred said at the beginning, are kind of ships that sell out faster than the big ships because there's only a small amount of space. The one thing I'll tell you is if there's any itinerary you're interested in, book it, because with Oceania, we led the way in this one thing. We said, we're going to give you the best price first. When we announced the sailing, we're going to give you the best price. On April 1st, our prices are going up on 80% of our sailings because we're doing so well. The fact is that even if you book something now for 2023 and we happen to drop the price, you will always be guaranteed best price because we have a best price guarantee. So then I look here and I look at Halong Bay and I think this is the most amazing little tour where you can just get off in a junk and you can go and see some of the most gorgeous little caves and walk through some of the little villages, or you can go fishing at night with the fishermen and you can overnight on one of the junks and it is really fantastic. Or you can say, I want to go to Angkor Wat. I want to go for 2 days or 4 days, and we have these kind of beautiful land programs, and all the consultants at Expedia here in all 3 cities, whether it's Lethbridge, whether it's Kamloops or Langley, they all have this great information for you. So this is a tour I did a few years ago, and it is amazing. We take a charter, we fly you over to Siem Reap, and then we take you into Angkor Wat in groups of 10. So always very small and very intimate. And we do that for 2 days in beautiful, beautiful hotels. Japan, huge on everybody's list. This is April 12th, 2023. It's sold out for 2021. Obviously, we're not sailing there this spring, but now that demand has shifted again for all those people that were booked into 2022. And here we have for 2023. And by the way, Tahiti was the very same thing. We were sold out for 21. We are sold out for 22. And so if you're interested in Tahiti or some of those South Pacific itineraries, look at them, book them. You can always cancel it, but you might want to just have a look and see what's of interest to you. The reason that Japan's so interesting is because of this. People come in at the cherry blossom time. It is the most exquisite country. And to be able to kind of wander into places like, trails in Nara, or go on the bullet train, or come and see Mount Fuji in these gorgeous settings in April and May is just stunning. So Japan is unbelievable. Europe is not part of our tropics and exotics, but there's 2 cruises I just want to show you really quickly. And that is another one-off cruise. This is something that I sell a lot of out of Western Canada, but it's because if you're interested, you have to look at it early. This is the North Cape. This is where the sun doesn't go down for 20 days. You literally are going to some of the most beautiful fjords in the world in Norway, and all the way up to Murmansk and Archangel, where all the explorers went to look for the North Cape. And so that's in this August of 21. We have it in 22. This is Oslo to London. We will have it for 2023, but 1 sailing. So if you're interested, have a look at this. The difference on this sailing for 18 days, small ship, but we're going into Edinburgh as well and to Kirkwall. So absolutely gorgeous itinerary. This is what you get when you come into the North Cape. The fjords are absolutely amazing. It's like Milford Sound. It's like going into some of the lakes in Newfoundland. It's all sorts of incredibly beautiful things that you see, these gorgeous, gorgeous fjords. I meant inlets in Newfoundland, by the way. And this is the other itinerary I really love because it's different, and I wanted to tell you about it, even though, as I said, it's not part of our tropics and exotics, but I think it's exotic, and that's in the fact that we take you from Reykjavik. So here we are sailing out of Vancouver. We actually fly you out of Vancouver all the way to Iceland and Reykjavik, and then we cruise to Greenland, which has got the deepest fjords in the world. Muskox just hanging off these great big cragged rocks, and they're just 6,000-foot mountains just coming right out of these beautiful fjords. And then we come all the way over to the North Cape. Unbelievable, and all the way back down through Norwegian fjords. And this is the kind of stuff you're going to see in Iceland. This is a planet unto itself. It is such a strange looking place, but it's also so incredibly beautiful. And everybody had the hankering to go to Iceland this last year. So we did too. So you can take a short cruise or a long cruise. So back to exotics now really quickly. When I talk about the Middle East, this is an amazing itinerary. We do the Mediterranean, and of course all the way through for 6 full months, but that's not on tonight's chat. If you need any information, your consultant can get you the Med in Europe. But this is a cool itinerary because, again, the itineraries for Oceania are so incredibly different. We start in Jerusalem. Most cruises start in Athens or They start in, you know, kind of Dubai or whatever, and they come into the Holy Land. This time, Oceania is flying into Jerusalem. And then we take you for 3 days through Jerusalem into Cyprus, into Ephesus, to Kushadasi, and then into places like Athens, and then into Albania and Dubrovnik. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous cruise for 12 days. And you'll see on here that we leave late in some of our ports. That's what we want to do. Now, short excursions are going to be a bit different when we start. If we start it this fall, we will probably have to all get off in groups, just like we have seen through the world. The world will dictate that to us. Governments and countries and cities will dictate. So that's why we can't give you a defined answer. But we will get back to, as they said on the news tonight, we'll get back to hugging our grandparents. We'll get back to walking in streets and shopping and doing that kind of stuff. And it may take a year. But it's really exciting news. But coming into Dubrovnik, having our little shuttles in and out of the city that we take you to. If you're a wellness person and you might not want to go on a short excursion to, you know, kind of just look at the old town, you might be a wellness person that goes, I want to go and do Pilates and yoga in an olive grove on a little island off the old town of Dubrovnik in Lokrum Island and have lunch there. And those are the kinds of things that we do with groups of 14 and 16 people. Singapore, all the way up to Istanbul, another 38-day cruise. This is a cruise that's put into 2, and this is on May of 2022, one of my favorite cruises of all time. I think is beautiful because we come into India as well as come into Muscat, Oman, and then into Dubai, and all the way up through to Haifa and through Luxor and the Valley of the Kings and Queens. It's an amazing itinerary. This is a smaller side of it, just May 30th. It's just the shorter version of that cruise from Dubai to Istanbul. And then, of course, this is one of my favorite new itineraries. This is brand new for us. This is November of 2022, so a year and a half away. But I have to say, this is kind of the Middle East. And so we start in Abu Dhabi and we end in Dubai. I mean, these beautiful names. And Kasab is part of Oman. This is known as the Norway of the, kind of Middle East. It's got beautiful dugout fjords and it's just absolutely beautiful. But going into Muscat as well and into Doha and Bahrain, amazing little itinerary, and you can change and move on either side of it however you like. And these are the kind of things you're going to do out of Dubai. You're going to go on desert rides, which are absolutely incredible, and have dinner in the desert at nighttime and come back to the ship. So we've done this before, small groups always of 10, 14, 16 people, and they're highlights of our guests' adventures when they come with us. This is the top selling cruise out of Western Canada. I want to take 1 minute just to tell you about it. This is a sailing that's a one-off sailing that it happens every year around this time. And this is a sailing for 30 days from Dubai all the way to Cape Town. So this takes you to India, takes you all the way to the Seychelles and into the east coast of Africa, all the way from Mombasa down all the way to Cape Town. And all the while you're doing safaris and some pretty cool things. You can continue on all the way up to Namibia and do Walvis Bay, do a little bit more sightseeing there, go down to the Cape and have some wine. But these are the kinds of things we do, whether it's a safari or whether it's the Cape, which is so known for its vineyards and its grapes. And it's an absolutely, I think it's one of the most beautiful countries in the entire world I've ever seen. It's rated up in the very top 5 of whatever I've seen. And it doesn't even matter what I think, but it is actually rated in the top 5 most beautiful countries in the world by Condé Nast as well. So it's a gorgeous cruise to do. It's a little bit of a hike to get there, but we can do that. We'll take you on the most nonstop direct flight. You can break your journey. The consultants know how to take you on that. And finally, I just want to talk to you a little bit about South America, tiny bit about the Caribbean, and then I promise to stop talking. But I do want to say that there's a couple of things, and that is Expedia here in Langley put this group together for everybody to look at. And so this is an actual hosted cruise in January of 2023 on the Marina. This is our biggest ship, the 60,000 ton ship, 1,200 guests. I did this actual cruise. Other than doing Antarctica, I went right around from Buenos Aires right up to Lima a couple of years ago. And so Chile has some of the most beautiful fjords as well. Port Stanley, the Falkland Islands, coming around into these beautiful little places like Montevideo and down in through the Strait of Magellan to Ushuaia and Punta Arenas. And that's where the Park Torres del Paine is. And You can take these over full 12-hour excursions to take you into some of the most beautiful parklands. Patagonia is absolutely incredible. This is one of the most beautiful cruises I think we've seen. We do this every year, except this time we've added on the Antarctic. So the Antarctic is a first for us. And what's so different about it is that it's not landing anywhere from within the Antarctic. This will be like if you were on a small ship and you were going into all sorts of peninsulas and different bays and everything for 5 days. It's fantastic sightseeing, tons of wildlife as far as marine life. Lectures on board, all the kinds of things that you're going to be wanting to be with somebody who's a guide there. And the reason I know so much about this area is because my son's a guide down here in the Antarctic in the wintertime. And I'm just looking at the pictures and the history behind it is pretty amazing. So this is a beautiful, beautiful cruise. And the first time we're going into Antarctica, Panama Canal. We always have Panama Canal sailings that go between San Francisco, Miami, but there's not many of them. And here we have an 18-day beautiful sailing from Lima, Peru, all the way up to Miami. This is a twist on the Panama Canal. So when I look at this and I think we come through Ecuador, you can do the Galapagos Islands, you can do this gorgeous Machu Picchu and all the things that this offers for you. It's just one of the most worthwhile Panama Canal sailings I would ever tell you to take because it's fantastic. So that's a sailing. Amazon, the other side of the country. Here we come up on one of the most beautiful, all of this area. I've cruised along this East Coast here into some of the most beautiful little cities and really, really modern, gorgeous cosmopolitan cities. And then we come up to Recife and into the area of Manaus. And this is just as far as we can get as a ship. This is on the marina as well. It's beautiful. And then we take our way up to Miami. So this is a gorgeous cruise if you're interested in Amazon, Caribbean. When we do Caribbean, it's usually for 10 days. It's hardly ever for 7 days, but we take you into really one-off little places that a lot of the ships just don't go to. And you know what? We're adding in Panama City. I went to Panama City when I was a little kid, late teens actually, and I have to say it's one of the cities I remember. It's a really beautiful, beautiful city, and we're starting and ending cruises there, and I'm so excited about it for 2023. This is going to be something that's just a bit of a twist, and of course we'll include it in our other Panama Canal sailings. So you'll see a lot of different itineraries, not just showing you a map, but if you look at the itinerary and you see how incredibly port intensive this sailing is, everybody, these are the kinds of things you can come to expect with Oceania and the late night departures. We're port intensive, we're unique, we're kind of adventurous. And finally, we have a 2023 around the world cruise. It's 180 days. We announced it on January 27th this year, and it's sold out in one day, the first time ever we've sold out a cruise in a 24-hour period. Now, I know between now and 2 years from now, things will change. So if you're interested in it, waitlist yourself. I'm pretty sure the chances are you're clear because people will change their mind. But right now, we're not even selling segments because everybody wants the 180 days. And we'll switch things up and make it super interesting. And the itinerary is incredibly beautiful. So I won't spend any time on this but you can see how many ports you're going to. And it's a very port intensive, but coming around the west coast of Africa and right around South America is cool. The other
Incredible
thing,
slide, Kathy. Could you just go back
yeah.
1 second?
Oh, yeah. And did you see this? Look at, if you come up from San Francisco, it's, we're in Victoria. So the ship actually goes all the way across, going eastbound, but comes around back to the west. And so we end up in Victoria and then into Oregon. And it's amazing. It's an amazing itinerary. And so you look at these incredible ports through India, through the Seychelles, through the Maldives, through west coast of Africa, around into Antarctica, all the way over, when you look at China and Cambodia. I mean, it's really, really beautiful. So, thank you for letting me stay on it for a couple of minutes because it is a gorgeous cruise. And actually, if you can take it longer than 180 days. It actually goes to 220 days. And a lot of our guests have done that. But it's a beautiful cruise. And again, we're not selling segments like we usually do because we had such a pent-up demand for people who haven't been able to sail. And of course, we couldn't do our 21 cruise. And so we're we're on to our 22 is completely sold out, and 23, this is it. So if you're interested, talk to everybody. This is something we hardly ever think about, but I will tell you this one thing, everybody. If you've done 12 days, you can do 14. If you've done 14, you can do 18. If you've done 18, you can do 30, and 30 goes into 50 days, and then all of a sudden 80 days, and it's nothing. If you want to be 6 months away, you can easily do that. It's fantastic. So the World Cruise, lots of different kinds of tours for you. Again, we'll know more as things go on. You can look at our website for anything you've got, but our Little Go Local tours are all based on 14, 16 people. When it comes to the actual safety now, just if you've got 2 minutes, I just want to take time, and I'm sorry, I know I did this afternoon too, Fred. I told you I was going to cut back and talk less, but I just can't help it. It's just, there's too many exciting things to tell you guys about. But I just want to say a couple of things, and that is, we tried to inspire people last year who couldn't travel. We all couldn't travel, but we tried to inspire our guests to dream about where they had been. And it seems that so many of our guests want to go back to the familiar. And even if you haven't been a guest of Oceania's, I look back and I think, gee, where would I like to go again? I don't go where I'd like to go new. I'm going, gee, where would I like to see again? Would I like to see Venice or London or whatever? And I think the one thing that we've done is we've really kept you being flexible and offering a lot of value. People ask us about health, but you know that ships are safe, and you know that Oceania is incredibly safe if you've sailed on us. But right now, we joined forces with the Royal Caribbean Group last year, and we hired 12 scientists from all over the world in different areas of science. And we said, what do we have to do to make it so it's absolutely up to the top standard of, traveling again? And they came up with 74 detailed health recommendations, which I won't go through, but you can go on our website and look. Your advisor can at Expedia can also help you by finding the place where it's right at the bottom of the page there. And you'll see all the things we're doing. But just to give you an idea, we've got a brand new air filtration called Atmosair. It's the cleanest air you'll ever get. We are going to be testing. We've got all sorts of different things happening when it comes to safety. We will not put one ship in the water until we are guaranteed that we are going to be the safest you can be. There'll be a quarantine area. We might have capacity be controlled by the time we enter the waters. We don't know yet, because everything's changing every week. And that's why it's a very fluid situation. But you can look at that. And we know that you're going to be very safe, and you're going to be very, very well taken care of with Oceania. The other thing, as I mentioned before, you have the best price protection. Doesn't matter. It's called our assurance program. If you book something with us and we drop the price, you get guaranteed the best price no matter what. So book early, look at things that you might want. And finally, and I promise I've just got a couple of minutes, I just want to wrap this up here, is if I could say anything about Oceania, everybody, it's about the value that we have at Oceania. People come away from the ship, and when I've met them, they go, Kathy, everything you said was true about Oceania, but this is the one thing. I paid, X amount of dollars, and it was worth way more than that. And almost every single person in the 12 years I've been here has said the value is amazing. The reason the value is great is because we come to you with the air, tax, and cruise together. But then what we do is we say, we're going to give you a choice, and it's called O-Life Choice, Oceania Life Choice. So remember I was telling you at the beginning, we don't include everything that the 6-star does, but we're inclusive by choice. It means that we include things that are important to people, and they've got the choice. So we have a lot of our guests on board the ship who don't drink at all, so we don't need to be all inclusive in liquor. I think what is great is we have a beverage package. So in addition to everything we do, we say, okay, now you can have beer and wine as one of your choices that's included. You get a choice included with every single cruise we do. And so, but if you want to have martinis and gin and tonics and all that kind of stuff, you can pay $20 a day more and have a full menu all day long from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. If you want to be a drink package, if you want to have that. Or if you're a shore excursions person who says, I'm only into shore excursions, that's what I really am coming on the ship for. Well, you have a choice and a variety of number of shore excursions per stateroom that you get during the cruise. It starts at 4 shore excursions between the stateroom and goes up to 22 and 23 and 60 shore excursions, depending on how long your cruise is. So that's another choice you have. And if you're like me, who goes, I want to buy a drink if I want the drink, I don't want all the shore excursions, I know exactly what I want to do, or maybe I don't until I get on the ship, I don't know, I might use the shipboard credit and go, okay, I'm going to use that for a spa treatment, I'm going to use it for wine or martinis or champagne or Dom Perignon or going into La Reserve restaurant or whatever it is that I really want a beautiful bottle of champagne, you can do that too. So we give you a choice of shore excursion, liquor, or a shipboard credit in every single cruise. As of 2022, we're also including your airport transfers. So not only now do we have your round trip air plus your O-Life choice, now we have airport transfers included from the airport to the ship and the ship back to the airport. We have options for you when it comes to upgrading your air. But what I really want you to look at is at the bottom of the page here, the inclusive things that we always have. Free internet. We don't charge for specialty dining. We don't charge for room service. We don't charge for shuttles in and out of the city centers. We don't charge for our fitness classes, our Pilates, our yoga classes. We don't charge for bottled water. We were the first cruise line to go green. We got rid of 3 million plastic bottles of water and went to a glass water system called Vera Water. We don't charge you for soft drinks and lattes and London fogs and all that kind of stuff. You can have them coming out of your ears. You can have them for room service. You can have them all over the ship, wherever you want them. And we don't charge you for laundry. Do you know our laundry rooms are probably the most popular rooms on the ship? They've got TVs, they've got movies playing, they've got refrigerators, they got everything, and you've got irons and washing machine. You can do your own laundry. We don't charge you. If you send it out to be done, we will charge you, but it's nominal fee, so it's fantastic. So these are things always included, but now you've got that. And with Expedia, oh my goodness, let me just tell you about this. On 80 different sailings in the year, you have prepaid gratuities. That adds up. Canadians, I can tell you because I am one, we always expect gratuities whatever we do. We don't have them on our sailings, all included, but we have them on many of our sailings. And so this is something you always, and this is one thing I always pride Expedia on in Langley and Kamloops and Lethbridge, is that they phone me almost every time and they say, oh, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so just booked, and can we get them gratuities? Can we get them, extras on the ship? These guys are engaged. They know what you need. They know what you want. And so I really want to encourage you that if you are interested in something here, look at the sailings we have with the prepaid gratuities. And in addition to that, Oceania, over the next 2 weeks until March 31st, will offer you an extra $200 shipboard credit you can use for whatever you want on board the ship when you book a veranda and above. So those are the deals there. We've told you a little bit about the launch, the World Cruise. We've got past guest offers. If you're a single guest, you're going to be so excited when you hear about our Allura class ship. You're going to be excited to hear that we have a whole bunch of sailings with single supplements reduced. So ask your consultant about that at Expedia, and we will get that for you. And this is my final slide. I just want to say that, I'm so sorry I've talked for an hour, and I hope that none of you have dropped off, but I do want to tell you this. One of the things that I see people doing in a habitual way is kind of looking back to where they were familiar with. And what I like to call it is the new familiar. Because when we go back to a place now, just like we learned through 9/11 and we learned through all sorts of things that have hit our industry like SARS and that, we've all changed for the better. And this pandemic, through all the tragedy that we've all gone through, is going to make travel even better than it was before, because now we're going to keep people safe from all over the world. Every country, every city, every hotel, every taxi driver, every resort, all these things that we're all dependent on each other, make this huge industry, this huge success it is going to be different. And it's going to be a better familiar. So when you want to go to the Taj Mahal, or you want to go into Portofino, or you want to take a beautiful small ship and wind your way in through places like Saint-Tropez or into the Chilean fjords or whatever it is, we want to help you get there. And of course, one of our guests said the other day, I didn't know you went to the Taj Mahal. And I go, yeah, we have some of the most beautiful India programs as well. So we take our ships through these beautiful ports. Whatever you are familiar with, I can tell you that the new familiar on Oceania is going to be better than ever. Whatever you have not tried out, if you haven't tried out Oceania, come and join our family. I know you're going to love it. And with that, I'll just end by saying, stay positive. We're close to the, home line, as my niece said, who's a marathon runner and has run marathons all over the world. Auntie Kath, this has been, such a huge marathon for us all, but mile 1 to 20 is nothing. but at mile 20 to 26 is the hard stuff. And this is where we are right now. We're at the hard stuff. We have to wait it out just a little bit longer. We're almost there. So I hope all of you are healthy and you stay positive. And I just want to thank you so, so much for coming and spending an hour with Oceania tonight, and for all of the consultants who are the most brilliant people we work with. We really have a fantastic partnership with this group of agents. And I hope you'll just use their brain and let them pick away, because they will pick my brain for you as well. So thank you all so much. And Fred, I'll hand it back over to you.
Wow, Kathy, thank you so much. You know, everybody has stayed on and stayed engaged, and I think
Thank you.
we're in the comfort of our own homes. So it's nice. Sometimes it's harder being on a chair in a room, but when we're out at live events. But now we're at home in our own comfort. So thanks again for doing that. I hope everybody was able to get a couple of dreams going, or maybe even find the itinerary that you were looking for already, that you say is the next thing you're going to book, and you saw it here. And you can talk about it. And if you haven't been on Oceania yet, that was a wonderful way, Kathy, to be able to look at your darling of a cruise line, and how well it is. I mean, some of the memories I had, and I will say to anybody, just when we're wrapping up here, that if you have any questions, throw them in the chat now. I don't see anything there yet, but we'll finish off there in a second. But I did want to say that it reminded me.